The Seattle Seahawks met with a lot of offensive linemen at the 2025 NFL Combine. Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. The NFL Combine is coming to a close today. We do have some bench pressing to do, and the bench pressing to be done today is the offensive line, so that's actually pretty important. So definitely worth keeping an eye on, but in terms of data, we have almost everything that we're going to have. So at this point, the Seahawks have probably met with everybody they're going to meet with at the Combine. So we did a video after we made our initial 5 interview meetings. So let's go ahead and probably wrap it up with the remainder. And there were a lot more than 5 that came in the last couple of days here. So we got a lot of names to get through here. Field Goals kept track of it all in this article. Shout out to Field Goals and Mookie for doing that. They kept a pretty good, pretty updated list of all of the prospect meetings. Now, I will say this. I suspect that the Seahawks did meet with some defensive linemen, edge rushers, and linebackers, and we just didn't get to hear about it. Sometimes this stuff happens in a context or in a situation where we as fans never get the information to trickle to us. So if you're wondering why you don't see very many of those players in this group, I think it's because of the information flow rather than us choosing to completely ignore those spots. So if you're wondering, hey, where's Campbell? Where's Geod Campbell? Where's James Pierce? Where's Kenneth Grant? Maybe we met with those guys. It's possible we just don't get full information here. So as for what we did get information about, it was pretty much every other position than that. So let's go ahead and take a look at who they met with, keeping in mind, obviously, this is no guarantee that we're going to pick the player. We can't pick every player we meet with. We meet with too many. And maybe we're meeting with these players because we have questions about them, and we're allowing the interview, the meeting that we have with them, to kind of act as some kind of a tiebreaker where we could go one way or the other. And then there are players that we're already very much into that we feel like, hey, we don't need to meet them at the Combine. Or we'll use a top 30 visit on them, so we don't need to meet them at the Combine because we're going to meet with them later anyway. Or, we don't know exactly how the sausage gets made here. But let's talk about what we can say, taking a look at these interviews. All right, so the first guy in this article is someone who a lot of Seahawks fans are sounding off on in the last couple of weeks here. This is a guy that's really rocketed up the draft boards recently. He's really caught on as like QB3. And honestly, given the fact that the top 2 quarterbacks in this draft are very, very flawed and problematic, Jackson Dart could end up going above even that. Like right now, he's a firm QB3, I think. But don't be shocked if he moves up past Sanders and or Ward. He is moving up that quickly. And I know that sounds crazy, but I don't think it is crazy. So anyway, apparently we did meet with him at some point. He's the only quarterback that I saw any kind of a meeting confirmation with because, it's not just this article, right? You go and look up some stuff yourself on other sources. And I didn't see anything else concerning other quarterbacks that we met with. So to my knowledge, the only quarterback we did meet with was Dart. And I guess that makes sense. He had a very good combine. He looked good. And I know that a lot of people are starting to really circle the wagons around Dart. I continue to say what I've said all along. I think that he's a system quarterback. I don't believe that he has a very good arm. I don't think that his processing ability is anything special. I think he's accurate on short and intermediate stuff, but that describes a lot of quarterbacks, to be honest. I feel like every draft has a bunch of guys that are accurate on short and intermediate passes, and they don't go in the first round. No, they go day 2, day 3 sometimes. So I'm not a big fan, but I know some people will be excited to know we at least met with him. Now, these next 5 names are the names that I talked about in the first video, so we've known about them. Kobe Bryant, the cornerback. Nick Manwari, the safety, although that's more exciting now in hindsight. Terrence Ferguson, tight end, who probably was the most athletic testing tight end this last weekend. So that's kind of cool in hindsight as well. Jalen Conyers, the Texas Tech tight end, who I'm starting to feel it, man. I'm starting to feel it with Mr. Conyers. And Quincy Riley, Louisville DB. He had a decent week of testing. I don't think he stood out in a crazy way, but looked pretty good overall. So those are the guys that we knew about. So now we get into the guys that are relatively recent. We've gotten the news that we've met them in the last couple of days. This first guy I don't know anything about. Florida State cornerback, Ray Thomas. I definitely didn't get anywhere near that one. I definitely didn't even get close, but Florida State cornerback Thomas. Go with that. Bigger guy, I know that, but I don't really know much of anything else. Met with him, so there's another cornerback meeting on the list. And for the most part, the meetings that we've learned about in the last couple of days were all offensive linemen, and it was basically a who's who of every relatively high-profile offensive lineman in this draft. There were only a couple of guys at the top of the boards that we did not take a look at. We got Armand Membo, who tested so well yesterday, he's probably not even an option for us to pick at 18 anymore. Donovan Jackson, Ohio State guy. I don't know if he's a first-round pick or a second-round pick at this point, but he's definitely in play on both sides of it. So that's definitely something that is going to be interesting to us. LSU, Will Campbell. I suspect Campbell's going to go in the top 10, so I don't think he's going to be in range for the Seahawks, but if he is, I mean, he is an athletic freak. He's just a little bit out of control, it looks like when I was watching those drills yesterday, he just looked a little out of control sometimes, but immense potential. North Dakota State, Gray Zabel, the guard, center, tackle, who the heck knows what he's going to do in the NFL guy. Could play all 5 positions for all we know. Very, very productive in college. Tested fairly well. We'll definitely have a lot to say about him down the line. Clay Webb, Jacksonville State. One of these small school guys that I have had my eye on throughout this process. Interesting prospect for sure. I like Clay Webb. Jonah Savai Naia, who tested brilliantly yesterday, I think, and would be an awesome fit, and might be just what the doctor ordered at even 18 at this rate. Like, he looked so darn good that maybe 18 isn't such a bad idea. Jalen Rivers, Miami Hurricane. Haven't looked into him a ton, but I do know that he's definitely a name that people are starting to warm up on. Georgia, Tate Ratledge. I've talked about him a ton the last couple of years. He's great, and he tested great. Georgia center Jared Wilson, who absolutely blew the doors off of the combine yesterday, was absolutely awesome, and is going to really make himself some headway in this draft class where there are not a lot of valuable centers. So that's a good one. Texas tackle Cameron Williams. I don't know if he's going to be there at 18. That one's tough. That one's interesting, but definitely a meeting you want to be taking. So sure. Tyler Booker, the Alabama guy, who I don't know. I don't know what to think about him anymore. This is going to be a really tough one, guys. This is going to be difficult. It looks like he can play, but the testing numbers indicated somebody who's really going to struggle against higher levels of competition, or someone who is just going to have to overcome a severe athletic disadvantage. And Brandon Crenshaw Dixon, who we did get to see a little bit yesterday, and he looked very slow and very immobile to me, but that doesn't mean he's bad. It just means I don't think he's going to be a fit. But clearly, when it comes to the offensive line, we're trying to turn over every stone to figure out what we want to do. So if you want the Seahawks to be aggressive with offensive linemen this offseason, this is great. So that's really most of the show right there. Jalen Noel was a meeting with the Seahawks, the Iowa State receiver. Not my favorite of the two Iowa State wide receivers, admittedly, but he is good. I just don't think he's necessarily what we're looking for right now on this team. But what we're looking for right now on this team could change at any given time. So there's nothing wrong with turning over the stones. And again, for all we know, we met with a bunch of people that aren't even listed here because we just didn't hear about it. So those are your meetings. A ton of offensive linemen, cornerback, a quarterback, and a receiver. So it's clear where the priorities of this team seem to be. And let's not forget here that this is not necessarily indicative of how things break in the draft. I mean, there is now a scenario where a lot of these top offensive linemen end up getting drafted before the Seahawks can even pick them. Like Membo, before yesterday, I never would have thought that he was a realistic candidate to go in the top 15. Now I suspect he will. I never would have thought that Savai had any chance of going in the top 20. Now he's got a shot. So we'll see where this takes us, man. But those are our meetings so far. That's probably it. Maybe we'll hear about a couple more later today. But in terms of the team actually meeting with players now, it's probably over. So let me know what you guys think. I will see you guys later today. At least one more video coming today, I believe. Go Hawks. And that's your combine data, man. That's what we're getting out of this combine. So let's hear it. Let's hear what you think. And we're just a week away from free agency opening up.